What's some evidence that God exists? Hi, Calvin Smith here, and welcome to Creation Basics, where our goal is to make God's creation part of your everyday conversation. Now, today's question, is there no evidence that God exists? I mean, if someone said to you, there isn't any evidence that God created, what would you say? Well, how about this? What evidence would you expect to find if God does exist? I mean, that's a pretty good question to ask, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you wouldn't even know it if you found it. So the Bible says God created the universe and everything in it, but we weren't there to see it. So how could you show evidence for that? Well, God made us in His image, so of course we have some of that creative intelligence in us, and we create things all the time. We know a lot about creating. So let's see if we can recognize evidence for design. You know, created things have some specific qualities. For example, they can reflect the intelligence of their creator. A computer is obviously more sophisticated than a paper airplane. We understand that the higher the sophistication of the creation, the greater the intelligence used to make it. And we recognize that the more advanced it is, the more obvious that it didn't just happen by chance. So, you know, someone might think that they find a sharp triangular rock that might not actually be an arrowhead. Maybe it just happened to get banged around by chance random processes, and it just kind of looks like it's an arrowhead. Looks like it's designed. But no one would find a cell phone and think, well, that just happened. So again, the higher the technology, the less chance it happened by chance. So, for example, let's say you and your friends are hanging out and you said, hey guys, look at this chair. Now, if you said, do you think this wooden chair just happened by random chance processes, or do you think it was made by somebody? Well, they'd probably laugh at you and say, well, of course somebody made it. But how do they know? Well, see, an evolutionist would say time, matter, and energy are the three basic elements that have produced everything we see and experience. So let's take a look at this chair we're talking about and apply that formula. Does matter plus time plus energy equal a chair? Let's start with the matter. It's made of wood. Where does wood come from? Well, trees, obviously, but do trees have natural properties that would cause them to form into a chair? No. Well, let's add time. Would a tree left for a long period of time turn into a chair? No, the longer you keep wood around, the less you'll have of it, because it's going to rot eventually. Well, how about applying raw energy like wind or sunlight or lightning or chemical processes, etc., to the tree? Would that do it? No. So scientifically, matter plus time plus energy won't make this creation, this chair, by themselves. Now, it's true that you need wood from a tree, some time, and to apply some energy to the wood to make a chair. These are vital components, of course, but there's something missing in the equation. The missing component is information. The reason virtually anyone would admit that they believe someone made a chair, whether they were there at the time that was made or they saw who did it, is because we usually recognize intelligent input that's been applied to something. Trees don't contain information to form flat surfaces, 90-degree angles, and legs at each corner, but intelligent minds do. So intelligent people take information and add it to their creations. As soon as you recognize that somebody's added information to something, you recognize a creation. So an equation for something created looks like this. Matter plus time plus energy plus information equals a creation, in this case the chair. Now, some will try to argue that, because living things can duplicate themselves, that the comparison isn't fair. Chairs don't make copies of themselves like living things do, they might say. But chairs don't make copies of themselves because they're nowhere near as complex as the simplest living thing. The ability to make something that can make copies of itself, well, that's a level of technology and sophistication that humans have never achieved. Remember, what I said earlier, the higher the technology, the less chance that it happened by chance. So is there evidence God created? Yes. The most sophisticated things on the planet, living things, show more evidence of being created than the most complicated things that we've ever created. And surely no one ever thinks that those things, just created themselves. Hey folks, Calvin here. I know you've heard it all before. Subscribe, hit the buttons, all that stuff. But here's the thing. Think of it as if you're donating to our Answers in Genesis Canada advertising campaign without having to spend a dime. With the algorithms set up the way they are, it's kind of like getting media platforms that are often quite unfriendly to Christian content to promote gospel outreach for free. Wise as serpents, gentle as doves. So subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, share the content, click the button. I know it's annoying, but it really helps.